were just talking that you, in my proportions, probably equally big investment than you into Skool, but you have also attached your whole like personal brand to it, right? Which is a big risk.
A big bet.
Yeah. Can you tell me what made the bet worth it?
So I was having this conversation with Caleb, who directs all of the media, the stuff that we do. And he was like, hey man, like this is a big bet. And I said, you know, opportunities only look like risk today. And they look like opportunities in retrospect. And so like if something has risk on it, that's usually why there's an opportunity. Because the really obvious opportunities aren't opportunities. Because they're already discovered. Once all the risk is out, then usually the upside's very capped because everyone can see it.
Yeah.
And so for me, I felt like I have a number of advantages going into making an analysis of a company like that. One is we invest in companies, period. Secondly, it's in right now the education space primarily. And so that's a space that I know very, very well. And third, what I know is how much I believe the marketplace wants something like Skool and the void that I believe it fits, because we see the comments, we see the engagement, we see the types of content that hits. And so having a simple vehicle for people that don't necessarily have to be experts, who don't need to have an audience and have a super high success rate for them, that's like kind of like the trifecta of a recipe for an opportunity for somebody. And so I'm just basically making a big bet on the platform, and that communities, as AI and other things advance, that people will want to be more connected in the future than they are today. And they'll want a platform that they can do it on.
That's so interesting. I think that there's a huge tendency kind of back to personal brands as well as AI rises. How do you see people growing businesses on Skool from kind of different angles? Because there's the goat business. Do you know the goat business?
No.
There's a lady, and she has a membership around taking care of goats.
Cool.
And that works, right? And there's the GIF community, and all these kind of you would have never thought that niche exists, which is beautiful. But then Jason Derulo, I think yesterday, opened up a Skool there. So what is kind of the spectrum of people you see using the platform and for what reasons?
I think it's anyone who, I mean, if you think about how communities are built, it's usually around some sort of shared something. And so usually it's a shared, I mean, I was just teaching this in the community, but it was like, it's either some sort of pain that people have overcome or are trying to overcome together. It's some sort of interest or passion that a lot of these people have that aren't as common in their everyday. Like in a local area, you're not going to have a lot of people who are really into like anime something, right? But online, there might be only, let's say, 10,000 people in the world. So in your local area, you'll probably not meet this person, but online you could have a thriving community around it. And then the third bucket is just skills, like professional skills. And so I see those as kind of like the three major buckets that I've seen people get into. And so like whether you pull one off the wall, like the goat thing, that's probably a blend of professional skill, because she probably does it for a living, or passion. You know, if you see the paint, you know, there's a guy who teaches watercolor, right? It's like, okay, well, that's a passion, right? Pretty clearly. And then you've got, you know, teaching people how to build offers. Like I'd consider that a profession, and teaching people professional skills. And I think where the community stuff fits in is that there's, like in traditional education, they have to make big, broad buckets. But the actual real world is not big, broad buckets at all. It's lots of very tiny, 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 tiny slivers. And so in a world of education, if you can just teach someone a very tiny sliver, they can fill that sliver in the marketplace very quickly, because they don't need to learn this big block and then narrow down. They can just learn what they need to do in order to be successful for you know, phone flipping. You know, it's a tiny little, you know, thing. And so I think that's what allows it to work, because as a platform, it's like Wikipedia. Like Wikipedia is better than Encarta, which was the old, like it was not the dictionary, but like it's an encyclopedia, right? It was just where you look stuff up. But Wikipedia was able to beat them a million times over, because it crowdsourced all the information. And so there's no one person could ever be trying to assemble all the information in the world in one place. So they just said, write about whatever it is that you know, and they just had a system to keep curating the content, make sure that the quality was there. And so by crowdsourcing, they were able to keep the platform what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that Skool works the exact same way, just around communities rather than topics.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good perspective. What do you think about kind of influencers going on the platform?
Yeah.
And then also, what do you think about the personal brand being kind of the main driver? Because even you with the Skool Games community, which I think is the first 7-figure community, right? Per month.
Yeah, technically.
Per month on Skool, it's driving off your personal brand, right? So what do you think, what importance is the personal brand? Will every community kind of have to have one? Where do you see that going?
No, I mean, first off, no, I don't think every community has to have a personal brand. I think that personal brands will occur within communities. They might not be the reason for it. I mean, if you boil it down to what actually is required, it's just you need people to find out about it. So you have to advertise. And so personal brands are a cheap form of advertising that people can front load the work and then they can direct the traffic. And so there's advantages there. But the same thing with your career earlier with the Amazon thing when you started running ads, you can also just run ads. You can also do outreach. And at each of the games, there are people who've done all three. And I consider, affiliates, referrals, things like that. They still start with you either reach out to people one-on-one, you make content, or you run ads. Like there's the only way people can find out about stuff. And so any platform that sells stuff, you're going to, like any business, you're going to have some businesses that have influencers, so people that make content, some people that run ads, and some that do outbound. But all three are going to work.
When it comes to like somebody who is at level 0 kind of skill acquisition, my assumption is always that from a learning curve perspective, it's probably outbound, personal brand, ads. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. But then they also feed into each other, right? So
they stack.
I think that if anybody hasn't not gotten or their head wrapped around how much value they get in being in the Skool Games community, just having access to the Q&As.
Or just the posts
Get in there.
Yeah,
right?
The posts are great.
The posts,
like there's so many really good deep trainings on whatever. There's huge outbound trainings for Skool. There's huge ads trainings you guys have put in there.
Yeah.
There's a ton of stuff that you're like, you can just search whatever you want and it's there and it's already applied to the vehicle that you're looking for. So I mean, I agree, obviously.
I think it's like the most valuable mastermind I've ever been in. And also the connections, right, that arise from it. I really didn't want to like Skool, I have to say it, because I had my whole kind of membership model figured out with the, one-click upsell. And I was like, but shoot, it's so good.
That's why I invested in it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been watching Skool for a while. Sam and I talked about it in 2018. So it'd been a while. Yeah, I've been watching what they were doing. And, for me to put my brand upon it, I was like, because it's a timing thing for me too. Because like if Skool gets too big, then it's really hard for me to buy a big chunk. But if it's too small, then it's too big of a bet. And so it's like really watching where I thought was like the sweet spot where I could provide, also I could provide the most value to the business. And so once I saw the compounding growth of the business and the amount of referrals that it was going, that's when I got really interested.